morning, good afternoon.
Great presses, great.
Yeah. Guess I'm open up for questions.
Well, what are your impressions so far of these practices?
It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. It's exciting just to see the growth in our guys, the returning guys, how much they've gotten better from last year, how hard they're working, and to incorporate the new guys into that. I know the guys they're ready to play against somebody else at this point. We've been going for a while, but looking forward to the matchups down in the Bahamas.
Oh, people have been waiting a while now to see C.J. Frederick. What are they going to see once he finally gets out?
Well, you got to temper the expectations a little bit because CJ's in the process of working his way back to being up to full capacity. But he's been doing great. He's going live, body to body, competing. But we also know it's a long road and it's a process. Obviously, you guys have all seen the physical appearance and how much he's changed. He's changed his body around. He's been really dedicated, and it's a credit to the kid and credit to Coach Welsh, who's worked really hard with him in terms of his nutrition and his body and strengthening, and the work that Jeff has done to get him to this point has been special.
You can stay with him in terms of how he sees the game or how he sees his team, that the time away will help him when he really gets back in the flow of things.
Yeah, I think anytime that you can kind of detach yourself a little bit from the game, because your viewpoint in the game is different than when you're watching it from the side, even as a player and as a coach. So we did a lot of conversing with him throughout the year last year to see him like, okay, what did you see? This is what we see, and get him a different perspective. I think it's going to help him a lot. It's going to help him a lot. He's a kid that's a high IQ, high field kid anyway. So the mental reps that he was taking throughout last year, as well as while he was going through his therapy, I think will help him. Will help serve him a lot.
How important is a healthy C.J. Frederick to the makeup of this team, just the way he's supposed to perform?
I mean, it's a 47% career three-point shooter. Anytime you can add that to a team, it's special. But he's a great teammate. His competitive edge, his IQ, his feel to play a couple of different positions, and he plays with an edge, which also brings a little to the team, and you always want that.
How much do you turn him loose?
It's one of the things that obviously with coach and the medical staff are going to be kind of bringing them along as it's a process.
When you look at the practices, or when you look at, as a whole, you say, I really like what this team does and what?
I like how fast we play. I like how we've got multiple guys that can play different positions. We can go really big, we can go really small, we can go really athletic, we can go really physical. I think that versatility is something that's very unique, and I'm excited to see how we can play around with those toys.
Sounds like, but as part of the recruiting, you did that on purpose, right?
Absolutely.
You go find the guys.
Yeah, Coach always wants guys that can play multiple positions. One of the key emphasis that we're talking about is having multiple guys challenge shots and try to get to getting a few more possessions with our rim protection. So challenging Oscar, challenging Damon, challenging Lance, challenging Jacob, challenging Chris. And surprisingly enough, you're going to get some shot blocking and chase down from Kaysen, who's pretty athletic.
With some of the rookies, do you have to reel them in a little bit and don't try to get crazy out here because it's a learning process?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Some of the rookies, do you have to reel them in a little bit and say, hey, look, don't try to do too much. We know what you can do. We'll understand what we're trying to do.
Well, no, we try to empower them a lot. Coach talks about failing fast early, and then you can get them to understand at the pace that you have to play every level that you go up, how hard you got to compete, and and then you can temper them down in terms of to what we're doing. But we want to try to put them in the best positions so that they can play to their strengths, and that'll lead for us to adjust to, putting them in those positions so they can have success.
Along that line, what's the process been like in terms of getting them out of their comfort zone? With the newer guys, getting them to do things that they're not familiar with, such as defense.
That's what one of the things that Cal is special at is making them uncomfortable and understanding that they have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's where the growth is at, right? Your growth is not in doing what you are comfortable doing. It's stretching yourself. It's stepping a little bit outside yourself. And that's the only way, mentally, physically, that you can get better.
In what way, can you give some examples of a player being forced to be uncomfortable?
How about sprinting the whole time and to get to the corner? Having the discipline to stay in the corners when the other players are making moves, and being able to read when to come out, when not to come out. A lot of times you're gravitating towards the ball and the spacing gets cramped up, and we want to give spacing for our guys to operate.
Cal's talked a lot, especially young guys, that their brains moving 100 miles every day. What do you see when someone's doing that? What's happening on the floor when everything's moving too fast?
Well, you misread, you get turnovers, you get over penetrations, you get bad passing, because you can see them thinking fast and thinking faster, and to be able to make those things happen correctly for the team, you have to be playing fast, but your mind has to be operating at a place that you can see it so that you can deliver the passing at the right time.
Is that just a growing pain you have to go through before
It
the brain
is.
slows down?
It is. That's why we want to fail fast early.
When we see Damian and Jacob playing, what are we going to notice different about them from the last time we saw them play?
Physically, you'll notice some physical things with them. Both of them have gotten a lot stronger. But more importantly than anything else is their confidence. They know that their confidence comes from the work that they put in. And to a man, all of them have put a lot of quality work in this summer, in the spring and summer. You'll be able to see Damian getting to the 1-2 dribble pull-ups, shooting the three, getting to his jump hook. You're going to see Jacob being more physical, playing lower, getting to play off of 2 feet in the paint area. Aside from all the other athletic things that both of those guys do instinctively.
Coach, you know how Kentucky fans would like to think they know every square inch of their team. What are they going to see in the Bahamas? Am I surprised?
That's a good question. I mean, they're going to see what surprising will be the chemistry. The chemistry, especially with the new guys, how the veterans have really embraced. You got a group of guys that are experienced, older, mature, with an influx of really talented young guys, and obviously with Antonio, and even with a CJ coming back now and having to get that all to mesh and to meld this early is going to be important, and these trips help for that. These trips help keeping the big picture in mind, the long term, which is to be gelling and playing great as you get into January, February, and going into March.
I was going to ask, what are the benefits of playing 4 games this time of year versus if you just kept practicing?
It's getting to 10 practices. That's honestly the huge benefit. And you get a quick glimpse of it against some different competition early on. It allows the coaching staff to try to get creative with some things we may want to try now to see, okay, if we like them or not. And that way, we have video where Cal can go back and say, okay, I wanted to try this. What do we think? Okay, we like it, don't like it. Maybe we make some adjustments.
Typically in the past, he's let the assistants coach the games. Is there a game plan you stick to, or you just kind of free to do what you want to do, try what you want to do?
Well, you do what we've practiced. You try to do what we've practiced, and then you allow the kids to try to play to their best. motivate them, put them in positions to have success.
Orlando, when you read the seat, I know you keep up with all this, when you see everybody talking about Cal's got his swag back, what do you think when you see that? Is that accurate or is it just nonsense? What do you think?
I don't know. I think I think he's Cal. He's been the same guy that I've always known. So I don't know if it's a perception of the fans or if it's whatever it is. I know he's in a good space, and he's been that way since obviously I've been back with him in terms of motivated and trying to put a team together that can go in and win a national championship.
If you were a player, how would you use last year's, the way the season ended as far as getting ready for this?
I'm sorry?
If you were a player, how would you use the way last year ended?
You saying I don't look like a player?
You do that. 37% 3 points at Pitt. I know.
Yes, there you go.
You're in the records.
You're motivated. You're motivated. As an experience from those guys that had the experience, they know how quickly the season can abruptly end, and you have to appreciate the opportunity if and when you get into the tournament to put your best foot forward.
Can you sense that from the guys who are returning?
You know what? I that hasn't come up much in conversation. I think it's something that's in the past. I think it's what they're concentrating on right now is them individually getting better. In the fall, when we come back, then we start concentrating on team again. But right now, it's been for them to get individually better and just prepare for the Bahamas.
What did you guys like about Antonio during that kind of transfer recruiting process, and how might he have to kind of change his game? I know he took a lot of shots last season. How might he have to adjust his game coming in here?
Well, honestly, Antonio is such a great player and has so many layers to his game that he's just not a scorer. That's what his team needed him to do at Illinois State. But he's a guy that's got great size, that can play 1, 2, 3, can handle the ball, pass the ball. Is a better defender than he's been asked to be, and we'll continue to ask him to be a better defender that way. But he's a 3-level scorer. He's got great feel, and I'm excited to see him going up against some other competition.
Has there been anything surprising about him? Obviously, you guys watched tape of him, but I'm sure you weren't paying close attention to Illinois State last season. Like in these early practices, anything that's come out that maybe you didn't see?
No, he's one of the things that you know about him. He's a competitor. He competes. He gets after it. We'll continue to challenge him to be a little more vocal, but that's part of his personality, where he's a little more quiet. He's a guy that leads by example, goes out and competes and does what he does. But for one of our guards, he needs to be a little more vocal and keep challenging him on that. Who have been the vocal leaders, I guess, so far, really, here? Severe has continued to be a vocal leader. Lance, Jacob, Oscar in his way, doesn't say a whole lot, but when he says it, he usually, they listen. Yeah, they pay attention to him. So mostly those guys. And Kaysen, for a freshman, has been really good in that way. I think he's earned the respect of the veteran guys and with his play and the way he carries himself. Because he carries himself more mature than you would imagine an 18-year-old to be.
What are your expectations for Xavier? He's led the league in assists 2 years in a row now. What's the next step?
The next step for him is obviously to continue his growth, shooting the ball, one, and continue to be a great leader. We expect him to go ahead and be a fierce defender on the ball, like he has been, and to continue to lead the team.
When Oscar was in your spot about a week ago, he couldn't stop gushing about Jacob in practice. What are you seeing from him that's different from what we've seen before?
Just what we thought he was capable of. You're seeing a guy that's also confident in what he's doing, understanding what he's continued to work on, and playing at a different level, confidence-wise, and physically he's playing lower. Jacob, because of how the athlete that he is, he played upright, runs upright. A lot of times when he gets into tight spaces, you have to be lower, you have to play lower, and just getting him comfortable to playing through some of the contact stuff that in previous years might have thrown him off balance, and him playing lower and playing off of 2 feet allows him to absorb more contact, use the strength that he's gained in the weight room, and the confidence that he's been putting in practice.
Coach, with CJ finally healthy, what do you see in practice, and what kind of intangibles does he bring to this team?
Obviously, his shooting ability requires a lot of attention defensively, so he spaces the court an awful lot. But he's more than one-dimensional. He's not just a shooter. He's got great feel. He passes the ball. He knows how to use that weapon to help himself and his teammates, to elevate his teammates. And like I said earlier, he's a high IQ kid, and he plays with a little bit of an edge, which is fun.
Orlando, it wasn't that long ago you were a college player. Let's put it that way.
You and Larry were still here.
That's good or bad.
Yeah.
But you know what this time of year is like for college basketball players. You know, they're kind of easing into the year.
Yeah.
These guys are going to give up some of that free time. Of course, the payoffs are trip to the Bahamas. What's that attitude like to put in that extra early work, you know, but you get to play some games?
Our guys are very competitive, so they're excited. They've been excited, and I think Coach has done an unbelievable job of keeping it interesting and keeping it exciting by allowing them to work on the things individually that they each need to work on to help themselves, that later on will help us as a team. And so that's kept things fresh and kept things exciting for them. And they understand that, we're going to get a chance to go out and compete against some new teams, against some different bodies, and in the Bahamas. And it may be a vacation for a lot of folks, but it's going to be some work for them, and they're looking forward to it.
Something I've always wondered about you, looking at it from this perspective, a fan's perspective. You started in July, it's going to go all the way to April. That's a long, long time to be involved and worry about burnout. Or with the kids today, does that matter? Because they're going to be in the gym every day anyway.
That's a great problem to have if you started in July and you're playing into April. Those are problems we want.
Yeah.
I don't think you can look at it that way. I think you just this trip is huge for the chemistry building, the team bonding, and for allow us, the staff, to try some things that they want to try to tweak when we come back in the fall. Cal's a master at understanding and getting a feel for his teams in terms of when we need to push, when we need to back off, to bring them along. We'll make obviously some adjustment in the fall and not start off as early as we normally would in a year that we're not traveling.
Orlando, we saw so much emotion after the last game last year. You got a bunch of those guys coming back in this season, especially a guy like Oscar. What his feelings were after the loss. Did they come into the season with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, so to speak?
You know what? That's a good question. I certainly think that the experience will help serve them in the future. I think it's motivated each and every one of them to focus and work on the things that they needed to work on this offseason, in the spring and in the summer. And that's what you would hope for kids as a competitor, that you take that experience and you use it to propel you to try to get better.
Orlando, after working with him so closely, what's the dynamic like recruiting against Kenny now? Especially as I assume he's trying to use some of the same pillars that you guys built here together.
Kenny's my brother, we root for him to have success. His family and my family are close, and but we're competitors, and he's got to try to go out and do the best job he can, as we will do here as well.
Orlando, does your team know that the team that won 38 straight went to the Bahamas and actually was beaten? What do you feel like at one point?
I don't know if they know that. I don't think it's come up, and I don't know if that's something that would come up in the conversation, but
And there won't be walkover games.
no, they won't be. They won't be. And it's what you want. You want to see. You want to get tested. You want to see where you're at. this early in the process, and if you know it happens that we fall short, it's a learning experience. You know, for
Orlando,
us.
is Casey's defense as good as he says it is?
Yeah. Yeah, he takes a lot of pride in his defense. He takes a lot of pride in being physical, and he is so mature mentally for a kid his age.
Was that rare for a high school kid?
That Bahamas game against Kentucky when you were on the other side of it in 24. How did you all approach it? Did you teach your guys some lessons about what they're going to face?
How did I approach coaching against the Kentucky team? In the Bahamas, for us, it was a game that was getting us prepared to try to go play in the World Cup. So, you know, our motivation was to get better, to try to compete against some really talented kids and see what we could do. And you know, we came down to one possession.
You talk about Kayson's defense. Is it rare for a high school kid to just come in and taking pride in defense?
It was one of the things that we liked about him in the recruiting process. You know, it was one of his calling cards. His toughness and his desire to defend and match up against and guard the opposing team's best player. And that mentality is special.
Is it rare for high school kids?
It is. It is. It's very rare.
To follow up on Bill's question, Justin Edwards takes great pride in his defense as well. Are you seeing that now more in younger players because they believe that could help them on their career path?
We like to go and recruit kids that like to defend and like to win, and that have been a part of winning as much as we can, because those attributes translate. And that goes for all the kids that we like to recruit, not anyone in particular.
I was talking to Jimmy, he was talking about Jacob expanding his range and working on his shooting and other things to his bag, but he mentioned not to fall in love with the three, but it's something that he's been working on. What have you seen from him in terms of just trying to expand his game to help you guys as well?
I think for him, is someone as talented as he was to help him define his game a little bit, and to get him to understand how to play lower, be a little more physical. We're going to demand a lot out of him, and you know, he's extended his range out to three, and he can make it. But we're asking him not to fall in love with the three. You know, like the three, but love getting into that paint and getting to the free throw line, putting pressure on the opposing team's defense.
You're still Oscar at this point?
Oscar?
Yeah.
We're working with Oscar on extending his range a little bit, but Oscar will always go back to where his bread is buttered.
I was going to ask, how does the consensus National Player of the Year get better next year?
He's got a lot of room to get better. He's got a lot of room defensively to get better. He's got a lot of room offensively to get better. And, you know, we joke with him. He says he's going to average 20 rebounds, so we're going to try to hold him to that.
Orlando, was the Kroger tour in any way, is that an advantage, like Jason and Chris, maybe even Antonio, get out and really see what they've heard about, see how it really is true, or is that not a big deal?
No, it was a big deal. It was a big deal for all of them to understand the impact that a Kentucky player has on the state, and to see how they are received by the fans, and how much them coming to the towns, how much that means to a lot of people that probably won't have the chance to come and watch them at Rupp. You know, they watch them on TV, and so it was pretty special for them to get that experience.
Orlando, you joke a lot about age. This coaching staff isn't necessarily young. Even AD's 40-something now. How difficult is it to
Speak
kind
for
of
yourself,
relate?
man.
How difficult is it to relate to these young guys nowadays?
No, it's what we do. I mean, we're around 17, 18, 19-year-olds every day, so it's not hard to relate to them. Obviously, the conversations that we're having with them are different, but in terms of being able to connect and relate with them, I think our recruiting speaks for itself in terms of being able to continue to connect and relate with them.
Are the 18-year-olds of today any different than the ones when you started recruiting?
17, 18-year-olds. It's just a matter of different generations, you know.
Yeah, what's driving you nowadays? What makes Orlando Antigua tick?
I've been blessed to be in a position to help impact young people's lives. I've had a lot of mentors, a lot of coaches that helped me, that have allowed me to be sitting here in front of you all talking about basketball. Basketball has taken me all over the world, and I think it's my calling, my duty to share that and to try to help continue to help young kids like myself to, you know, to grow and take advantage of their God-given abilities.